Peer support is one of the most powerful, most human forces for healing and growth that we have available to us, and yet it's often underestimated. We live in a world that tends to celebrate professional expertise, therapists, doctors, coaches, counselors. And while all of those have tremendous value, there's something uniquely transformative about being supported by someone who truly gets it. Someone who has walked a similar path, felt a similar weight, and come out the other side. That is the heart of peer support. So, what exactly is peer support? At its core, it's a relationship built on shared experience. It's one person saying to another, "I've been there too." It's not clinical, it's not a transaction. It's a genuine human connection grounded in empathy, mutual respect, and lived experience. Peer support can happen in formal settings, structured programs, peer support groups, workplace initiatives, or it can emerge organically between friends, colleagues, or community members. What matters isn't the setting. What matters is the authenticity of the connection. Let's talk about why peer support works so well. One of the most common barriers people face when they're struggling, whether with mental health, addiction, grief, illness, or life transitions, is the feeling of isolation. The sense that no one else understands, that you're alone in what you're going through. Peer support dismantles that barrier almost instantly. When you sit across from someone who shares your experience, the shame starts to dissolve. The silence breaks. You realize I am not alone in this. There's also something deeply validating about being seen by someone who doesn't just sympathize, but truly empathizes. A peer supporter doesn't look at you from a position of clinical distance. They look at you from a place of recognition. "I know that feeling," they might say, and you believe them because they do. That kind of authentic understanding can be profoundly healing in ways that even the most skilled professional support sometimes cannot replicate. Research supports this too. Studies across mental health, addiction recovery, chronic illness, and trauma have consistently shown that peer support improves outcomes. People who participate in peer support programs report lower levels of depression and anxiety, greater feelings of hope, stronger social connections, and higher rates of recovery. They're more likely to stay engaged in their own care, more willing to seek help when they need it, and more resilient in the face of setbacks. The data aligns with what we intuitively sense. Being understood by someone who has lived it matters. But the joys of peer support extend beyond the person receiving it. There is profound meaning to be found in being the one who gives it. When someone moves through a difficult experience and then turns around to offer a hand to others still in the thick of it, something beautiful happens. Purpose emerges. The pain takes on new meaning. The hard chapters of your story become a resource, a gift for someone else. Peer supporters often describe their role as one of the most fulfilling things they've ever done. It transforms the narrative from "this happened to me" to "this experience made me someone who can help." There's also the concept of mutual aid embedded in peer support, the idea that giving and receiving are not separate acts but intertwined. When you support someone else, you reinforce your own recovery, your own resilience. You are reminded of how far you've come. You practice skills, active listening, empathy, boundary setting, hope holding that strengthen your own well-being. Peer support is not a one-way street. It flows in both directions, nourishing everyone it touches. Community is another gift that peer support cultivates. In a world that often feels fragmented and disconnected, peer support groups and networks create genuine belonging. They become places where people show up week after week, knowing they will be met with honesty and compassion, where the masks can come off, where you don't have to explain yourself from the beginning because the people in that room already understand the language of your experience. That kind of community is rare, and it is precious. For organizations, peer support programs represent a meaningful investment in human well-being. Workplaces that embrace peer support cultures see improvements in morale, psychological safety, and employee engagement. Schools that integrate peer mentoring programs see benefits in student confidence and academic persistence. Healthcare systems that incorporate peer navigators see better patient outcomes and more equitable access to care. The ripple effects of peer support extend far beyond the individual relationship at its center. And yet, Building effective peer support requires intention. Peers need training, not to become therapists, but to learn the skills that make peer support safe and effective: active listening, boundaries, confidentiality, crisis awareness. They need supervision and support themselves because holding space for others can be emotionally demanding. When peer support is done thoughtfully, with appropriate structures and care for the supporters, it flourishes. What we're really talking about when we talk about peer support is the radical act of being present for one another, of trusting that our own experiences, including the hardest ones, have value, of believing that connection is medicine, of choosing again and again to show up for each other with openness, honesty, and compassion. The joys of peer support are real, and they are many. The joy of being truly understood. The joy of realizing you are not alone. The joy of turning your story into someone else's lifeline. The joy of belonging to a community built on shared humanity. The joy of discovering that in helping others, you help yourself. We don't need to walk our hardest roads alone. And when we choose to walk alongside someone else on theirs, we don't just change their journey, we change our own. Peer support reminds us of something we sometimes forget, that the most powerful resource available to us has always been each other.